Hi, welcome back. It's Jo here at woollycottage.com. So this week is the second part of working with the hand spun versus mill spun organic merino. So in the last video, if you're over on Patreon, you've seen part one. This one will be released onto YouTube later this week. I said that I would give you a little bit of information about organic merino and re-dyed the wool here, because I wasn't happy with the colours. Look how wishy-washy that is, and the blue just stands out far too much though. Obviously, Joe's big cock up. So anyway, I want to go over a little bit of facts about organic merino. Now, usually organic merino has a micron count of about 19 generally. The one that I'm working with, I think, is roughly 23 or maybe a little bit lower. But obviously when it comes to official categories, when you go and order them from your wholesalers, they have to go by the standard rule. So if it's generally 19 degrees, but it's 19 micron count, then but it's maybe the breed that they're not all going to be 19 specifically, are they? There could be 20, there could be 21 micron count. And though you can get 21 micron count merino, this one that I have is definitely recorded as 23. So organic merino are raised, I'm just reading my notes here, okay? Organic merino are raised under strict animal welfare conditions for environmental standards, yielding soft, finer fleece with no synthetic chemicals or harmful pesticides used in the breeding of them. Let me just move my thumb out of the way. I've got nowhere to put you. I forgot from my stand down. Oh. Anyway, so no synthetic chemicals on the pastures or in their feed, and that their feed is free of artificial pesticides and herbicides, and no GMO, so no modified products like grain and things like that in their feed. Muslin free, that is regarded as a procedure which can be painful to remove the tail to avoid fly strike, which is banned. So I was gonna say any merino fleece that you buy now is guaranteed not to be muzzled, which is the removal of the tail. I can't guarantee that, but my stockists, all their merino that they get in, that I buy from them, is officially muzzling free. Okay, but fly strike is a really awful way for a sheep to become poorly and potentially die, because the maggots eat them from the inside out on the fly. So yeah, and they cluster around that area of the animal and their backsides and around the tails. So that's why, I'm not justifying why they did it, but that's one of the reasons why it was encouraged for a long time. But now, because of animal welfare, it's been banned. I'm not going to say within the UK, but that's about as much information as I can get. Sheep roam freely on natural pastures with regulated space requirements and minimal medical interventions. Okay, so they're not treated just for like to get dipped or anything like that. To be fair, a lot of the Herdwick sheep that are around here in the native areas of Cumbria, they literally roam free all the time up in the fells. I'm not sure how often they get taken in, but I would say they're pretty free roaming and free ranging sheep, and literally look after themselves. What else? The wool, it says that the fine fibre is typically around 19 microcount, making it exceptionally soft on the skin. It retains your core wool benefits, including temperature control, regulation, moisture absorption, and natural colour resistance, odour resistant, which is for I would say all wools that you work with regardless. It's just a common knowledge that all wools are odour resistant. That's why you don't need to wash them as much, because you can be stinking of BO, and if you just air that jumper for a day outside on the line, you'll not smell that anymore off there. It doesn't need washing as often. Wool jumpers or wool cardigans or wool hats, and they are really good at absorbing moisture as well, like sweat and stuff like that. So when it comes to synthetic options to wool, that's a pro. The cost of wool, 100% wool, is a con, in the sense of if you were to buy it from the shops, it's very expensive and they make you pay through the nose for it. To buy it yourself and knit it up, it works out cheaper, but then you're putting a lot of love into that garment anyway. So and it would cost it a lot more expensive if it's hand knitted. Often for it to be organically registered, it's got to be verified through global benchmarks like GOTS, which is the Global Organic Textile Standard, or any type of regional organic bodies. I'm not sure if it's DEFRA in the UK that think that, but there'll be an organic association that's a government body in the UK. Merino, in comparison to other wool breeds, it pills really quickly because it's a lot finer. You just treat it with that like any other. You just hand wash it in lukewarm water, and then leave it out to dry on the washing line, and stretch it back into shape. Don't be putting it in the wash machine because your 3-year-old grandkid will be wearing it. So anyway, I'm going to go and pop off, get these. I've got 2 of the skeins in the sink now soaking, so I'll need to leave them for about half an hour. And then we'll get the dye trays back out, and we will see about getting these re-dyed and see if we can make them look a little bit prettier. Who knows? They may end up in the forget it tray. It's worth a try, isn't it? But it's a nice experiment for you guys to see that even I cock up. Somebody may like that. Not me. It's got no character. So we're going to over dye it with I think I said the other day, last week's video, forest green, teal green, and sage. I think that'll look real lovely. And we're going to place them in a tray a little bit different from what we'd normally do as well, so that we can maybe keep a little bit of that softer green in there in the background. If we don't, we don't. If we do, then great. Hopefully it'll look really nice. Honestly, sometimes I do worry about myself. Right, so I'll catch you once these are soaked and I've got them in the tray ready for the colour to go on them. So I'll catch you in a bit, or for you in tick. Okay, so it's the next day. I got distracted, shiny. I'm in the middle of decorating my bedroom, and I've got to build a wardrobe, so I ended up going off and doing that yesterday while I was waiting for the wool to soak. And before I knew it, it was late in the afternoon. So this is the next day. This is what happens to me. Okay, so we've got our skeins of yarn, the couple that we soaked, and I'll show you the 3 others in the tray. But what I want you to do for this method that I'm doing is I'm literally twisting the skein of yarn. Just not massively tight. I just want a decent amount of twists in there, and I'm just going to keep on twisting it all the way. Okay, and then I'm going to lay it in the tray, and I'll tilt you down for this. So you see, it's not massively tight, not like I'm going to spin it into a little bundle of yarn, a hank of yarn. So hold on a second, we'll just tilt you. So you can see the rest of my yarns are all twisted and in the tray, and I'm quite literally just going to plop it in there, and with my hand scooch it all the way until, let's move you this way, there we go, until we're at the end of the tray. And once I've got that in the tray, I'm gonna then, it'll loosen a little bit as you scooch about with it, which is fine, because I want it to completely fill. Scooch out this hand spun that's in there as well, and then we're going to do 3 colours. Now I've already pulled out and poured out 250 grams. I just need to 250 millilitres of liquid dye stock. Okay, I just need to give it a stir, make sure that all the granules are completely saturated and melted into the water, which is warm water out the kettle. So I've got sage leaf, teal green, and forest green, and they're all got these bluey greeny tinges about them, and I thought, well, it's probably the best sort of alternative to colour to try and over dye this wool. So which colour should I go for? I've got blues going into greens here, more bluey than green. I've not put, I'm going to put, actually I should really put some stock in. I'm just going to add in a little bit of water to the base. I haven't done any citric acid yet. Okay, I want the dye to saturate it, soak into the fibres of the wool, as much as possible. It's only organic merino anyway. It's not a fancy blended fibre, but it's a lovely one to work with. And I am quite literally, I may end up having to make up another pot, because we will let this, there we go. And I am going to give it a little push down with my tongs in a minute. And then the next one, so that was forest green. This one is teal green. There we go. You can see there is a difference. And then this one is sage green, which is a little bit more bluey. Now, I'm going to use my hands. Oh, I don't, where's my tongs? You can never find the tongs when I need them. I know they're around here somewhere. Hold on a second. I can't find any gloves. Not to be fair, I don't usually use gloves, but I'm going out this afternoon. I've got to go out and do my mother-in-law's garden, and I don't want my hand to be covered, so I've just grabbed a poo bag. One of the dog's poo bags. It's clean, right? So I'm just going to use that to push down these fibres. Hey, listen, if it works, use it. Especially if you're randomly dying. Right, so here we go. I'm going to push that in there. Now, what I will do is redo the dye that we've just used, because once we've got the saturated dye soaked into this, we will let the water cool down and we'll flip it and do the exact same thing on the other side once it's at a temperature where I can actually touch it. Okay, so there we go. I'm quite happy with that. And the blues, the speckling of the blues, can you see these splodges look a lot more tamer? I feel quite happy with the way that those have muted right down. Okay, so we're going to leave that like that. I'm going to remove my hand from the bag, and we're going to turn the heat on, and I'm going to make up some more of this dye, because the tray hasn't got a lot of liquid in the bottom of it anyway. I don't want the yarn to stick to the bottom, so what we'll do is we shall make up another batch of this dye now and do the exact same thing again. Actually, I'll turn it down. I'll turn it off first, and I will do the same. I'll do the exact same thing again. So which one is that? Teal green. That one went there. I'll do it again now so I can make sure, because if I add some just fresh boiled water from the kettle straight into that dye tray, I am going to end up with the colour lightening, because what you're initially doing is diluting your dye, so it'll make it paler, and that's just not what we want to do. So I'm just going to redo these. So there is my greeny blue, there's the sage green, the sage leaf, and that is the forest green. There we go. Quite happy with that. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Sometimes it's okay to change your mind. When you're doing this, you can chop and change as much as you want. You may want to add more dye into it later on. I'm still going to flip it, and we're still going to do the same thing on the other side. So here is the bluey green one. So I'm going to again pour that up the top. I really want nice rich colours in this anyway, but as I said, I don't want to burn the wool because I've not put enough dye stock in there. So this is the greeny coloured one, and we'll let that just bleed through like so. And then here is the forest green for down the bottom, and I've got a lot more liquid stock in this water, which I'm happier about. There we go. And again, get my poo bag, stick it on my hand, and I may not have to now put any flip it over, but we will, once it's cooled down, we will flip it and we'll see what it looks like. We might decide to put more of the teal green sage green on the other side and omit the other two. We'll see how we go. So pop that there. Now I'll turn this on because I'm happy with the level of water. Can you see it just there? I'm a lot happier with that and the way it looks. And now I'm going to go and grab my citric acid. I'm going to sprinkle that much, which is a coffee scoop's worth. Which is equivalent to about 2 grams of citric acid. It's not a lot. It looks like it's a lot, but if you do it in a scoop, then that's fine. Leave that like that for now. And we'll get to the point where the steam's starting to come up and you can hear it pop a little bit. It's starting to pop now because that's the reaction of the heat and the water. The steam's starting to come up now. Can you see that? I'm liking the different colours of the gradient, and part of me wishes that I'd done this beforehand, but it's showing you that it's possible to over dye. I think it would be harder to over dye a darker colour. I know it will be harder to over dye a darker colour if you had a navy blue, because the amount of colour that goes into making that a really true navy blue colour takes up a lot of the molecules in the wool fibre. So I mean, you could maybe over dye it with a purple to give it a different tinge, but otherwise it's going to be quite hard. If I wanted to over dye this, I could go for a blue or go for the purple. You just have to be careful that it can make it quite a muddy looking yarn, and the yarn may actually end up being overworked with the dye in the heat. It could make it actually scratchy, which means it will lose its characteristics of the softness of the micron count. So I'm quite happy with that. Simmering away really gently. Once we get to a point where the colours are saturated from the liquid stock into the yarn, I'll come back to you and we will, it would have cooled down by then, and I can actually flip it over and we can decide what to do next. We may decide to untwizzle it and lay it in the tray. We may decide that I'm quite happy the way it's looking. My tray, I've got the heat mostly is up this end at the moment. Once I've got to a point that I'm happy with up here, then I'll push my tray forward so the heat can concentrate on this end, as I'm only working with one major ring. And underneath here, this is a 5-ring cooker, and then one underneath is my largest heat ring, and that's because it's for a wok. So I have a cast iron stand that sits on top of that heat. So this is the one that I use more than anything else when it comes to dyeing my wool. So that's why I have to move it back and forth. I don't use 2 rings at all, because I'd end up overheating one side of the dye tray and I'd end up burning my hands when I'm moving it to the sink. But I'm quite happy the way this is going at the moment. That dye stock's nearly all gone. It's saturated underneath there already. So I'm going to move my tray up. Give it a bit of a turn. And let the heat get to this part for it to do the reaction. And then once it's cooled down enough, I'll come back to you and we'll flip it over and have a look to see what we want to do next. Right, so my dye tray is completely saturated and I'm just flipping the wool. It's a little bit hot, but I've not got rain today, so I want to get these out because tomorrow I've got rain, and I really would love to get these dried and finish off the rest of this video since I'm a day behind my schedule. Right, so I'm gonna just flush that up. It's still got a twist in it. Still got some twist in there, but you can see where the dye is not struck on the other side. So we're going to repeat the same way. I might not need as much dye this time, so I'm going to flip that around. Turn that up that way. Try not to knock my kettle off, but the tray is really hot. So I don't want to burn my fingers. obviously. Okay, so again, we're going to go in with, I'm going to start with the middle, which this is the sage green. I'm starting in the middle because I know that this is sage green. There we go. And then we have got the forest green. I'm just going to give that a little stir in the bottom. Forest green goes down the bottom. Just try and get rid of some of that pistachio colour because it's very, very yellow. Pistachio is one of my favourite dyes to work with, but when I did this, I was not expecting it to come out so peely-wally. It was a brand new dye stock, so my supplier may have had a new batch imported from the States. Sometimes that happens when you order new dyes. They have to order them in from America, the Dharma dyes from the factory over there, and they do sometimes tweak the recipes of the dye pigment, so you're not always going to get the same colourway. Sometimes it comes out a bit more yellow, sometimes it comes more green. So it's just the way things happen. And that comes from their own suppliers of the pigments as well. And some of these pigments are actually natural dyes, natural colours. I'm not quite sure how it goes on, but there's always going to be a little bit of difference, a little bit of tweak in the recipe because of the way it's been mixed together. So you can see a lot more of the water this time. So we're just going to let that do its thing. Let the dye go away. Again, we're just going to bring up the heat. That water is already really, really hot anyway. And we're just going to wait for the liquid to saturate. I use my tongs this time. And I'm actually quite pleased with the way this is coming out. Be intrigued to see what it looks like. So I will get back to you once this is dried, which will be tomorrow, which will be Tuesday, and then I can get this video out over on Patreon before I put it over onto YouTube. But it'll be interesting to see how these come out. I'll do the knit swatch as well, which is another reason why I want to get it dyed and dried and sorted out for tomorrow, because the knit swatch takes me about an hour to get done because I have to unravel one of the yarns, which I always do it with the hand spun because it's easier to use that, because there's not as much meterage as there is in the actual mill spun yarn, because obviously I've spun this one up myself. Right, so yeah, I don't need to add any more citric acid. You may feel if once it's been simmering for about 10 minutes, if you feel like the dye stock's not starting to dissipate into the fibre, add a little bit more citric acid to help that reaction actually work. You may find that the wool has already penetrated as much as it's going to, and you may find that there's still a colouring in the liquid. You don't want to bring up the heat. You just want to add a bit more citric acid and then leave it to cool right down to room temperature water, where water feels cold, and then take that out. But you'll want to give it a seriously really good rinse in the sink to make sure that all the dye comes out, in case it's not completely saturated. Depends on how much dye you're using. I literally use less than half a gram for my dye in the 3 pots of this, so that just shows that you don't need a lot. You can always add more, but you don't want to over dye straight away, because you might not end up with the best potential colouring of your yarn. Let's just have a quick look before I go, because this won't be long. It's already clear. Can you see? I can see the bottom of my tray already. What about this end? Yeah, that has already taken. Can you see? Clear tray. So I quite literally now just leave that, let it cool down. Because the water was already hot, turn that right off. It's already penetrated into the fibre, completely clear, all the way down into the dye pot, the bottom of the tray. I've still got some colouring of the pistachio in there, but it's not as intense as it was previously, and I feel like I'm quite happy with the results of that. Same on the hand spun. It's not as dominant now as it was beforehand. Yeah, I actually don't mind. I don't mind that poking through. What will be interesting will be the results of the spinning of the knit tomorrow, once this is all dried up. Let's see how far it goes through. Unravel this wool a little bit. Right, still getting some of the navy blue speckling in that yarn. I'm not getting massive sections. Oh, I'm quite happy with that. The interesting part will be tomorrow when we knit up a swatch to see what it looks like. Exactly the same on the hand spun. It's got sections still coming out. Can you see that? Yeah. So I'll catch you tomorrow with the final results of what it looks like. This is going now into the sink with a little bit of a quarter cup of fabric conditioner just to sit and have a chill out for a bit. Then I'll put it into my clothes spinner and then put it in the line. Yeah, because I've got no rain and the wind's up a bit, so that's cool. I've got 4 rovings to get dyed up for this weekend shop drop, so I'm going to go off and get that done, and I will catch up with you in a flash. Hi, so we're back and I've finished another item of clothing. It's been one of those weeks again. I don't know what it is at the moment, but I never seem to be in the house for more than a day at a time. Right, so we dried the wool off. So this is the 4-ply version of the mill spun Organic Merino. Okay, so excuse the light. I will pop a picture up in a minute that I've taken from the photo box where you can see the colours. So it started off, we did that overlay dye. We used the tealy greeny blue. Okay, and you can see the definitions of the blue speckling that I did in the original dyeing. Then we have got the teal green, forest green, and then the forest green down the bottom. Okay, you've got these bits of blue speckling coming through. You've still got some of the pistachio coming through, which has worked out really, really nice because it's turned out as a really lovely swatch. These are on the website now. So there's 2 skeins of 4-ply. They're 350 meters each, okay, in the 4-ply organic 23 microcount merino. All official government bodies to verify that it is organic merino as well. So it is officially the nice, looked after, roaming free sheep. So there we go. So I have got 2 skeins of that available, and I've also got 2 skeins of the hand spun like this. Again, I'll put a picture up of it as well. Now this one I have spun up, it's more of a DK2 Aran weight. I used, when I did the swatch, I wound up one of the skeins. I'll wind that back into a skein later on, but here is the swatch. Again, I will put a little picture up of what it looks like in true colour. It's just, you've got a really weird glare today, and this is the best light I can get in this room, honestly, especially with teals and greens. They can be a bit hard to capture in natural light, but these will be called Neptune, okay, these yarns. So there's 172 yards on one of the skeins. I'll measure the other one as well. If you prefer me to sell them as a joint bundle, then please do put that in the comments below if you're interested. Usually when I do joint bundles, like my rovings, I'll digress here a little bit. If you see roving on my website and there's 2 available, I always sell them as 100 grams. But if there's 2 available, if I haven't already said in the descriptions how much the total is, I always say to you to get in touch with me, and I can make an amended price, which usually works out a bit cheaper for you to buy the 200 grams. Because when I dye the wools, there's always at least 200 grams and excess on the rovings, so sometimes it makes sense just to buy that. You might get 214, 203, 220 12, who knows, but you're getting, usually there's a little bit extra on the rovings, because I always make sure that I've got plenty. When you divide it up, it could be a bit of a nightmare. Right, so yeah, there we go. So that's the swatch. 4.5 mil needles I used for doing the swatch over a 28 stitch. There we go, on the other side, and it turned out really nice. I like it. So yeah, the yarn that I've spun ranges between a light Aran and a DK weight. You know, it's like a hand spun. It's never consistent all the way through. So what I did, and I forgot to do this the last time I did this mill spun versus hand spun yarn, because I'm supposed to do the pricing. Okay, so for the actual yarn, if you go to World of Wool, it's called Thanos. Okay, for the Organic Merino. If you buy now whether you buy 4-ply DK or Aran, they're all £7.74. That's your VAT included in that, because that's how much you would get charged VAT anyway as a customer buying just for yourself as a hobbyist. So the 4-ply yarn, this one here, has got 350 meters, but if you were to buy the Thanos DK, it is, where we got, so DK is 230 meters. If you were to buy the Aran, it's 175 meters. That's why I know that my hand spun version at roughly 172 yards is roughly a DK, because it's in between the DK on the mill spun yarn, which is 230, and then the Aran is a 175. Plus I measured it anyway on my little measuring guide, and it averaged, again, as I say, between a slight nearer an Aran and on a DK for definite. So there we go. So 4-ply DK and the Aran weight are all £7.74 to buy as 100-gram skeins. I'll repeat again. So the 100 grams of organic merino and a yarn is 350 meters. A DK weight on a 100-gram yarn is 230 meters, and an Aran is 175, and they're all £7.74. Now, if you were to spin that, and remember they're all undyed as well, so you'd have to dye them yourself if you wanted to, or you can message me and I'll dye them for you. You've got organic merino 100-gram roving is £3.48 for 100 grams, and out of 100 grams I've spun up approximately 172 yards. I should really have a look to see what that is in meters, but I can't think off the top of my head. I should have looked it up. So yeah, so if I wanted to get in between the, have more, so to have 350 yards, I really want to be spinning 200 grams if I want it as a DK weight. I didn't spend any specific time. It took me forever to get them spun up, and it was really hot and clammy, so I wasn't able to concentrate as much as I would normally do. But and then also I was drafting from a roving, and it was a nice lofty fibre, so I just wanted the fibre to just do what it wanted to do, which is what I ended up with the DK to Aran weight. So if I wanted to get roughly 350 yards of yarn in a DK weight, worsted DK, then I would definitely buy 2 of them, and it still works out cheaper than buying 100 grams of mill yarn. So it'd work out for 200 grams, £6.96. So if there was a project you wanted to do, now a lot of people have got different experiences of different consistencies of yarn that they feel comfortable with. I'm always aiming for a 4-ply, and I can do a 4-ply. But when the obstacles and the weather and the climate's against you and your hands are sweating, you may do what you got, okay? But yeah, it'd make a lovely hat, woolly scarf, heavier wintry stuff. I would say this one for definite. If you could spin it thinner and get a 4-ply, then Bob's your auntie. But if you could spin a 4-ply and get to 350 or more meters on that, then you're going to be saving yourself a heck of a lot of money, because as I say, you're looking at £3.48 for 100 grams of organic merino roving or top, in comparison to 100 grams of 4-ply, £7.74 for 350 meters. It's up to you. So yeah, there we go. So that's the synopsis of this week. So as I say, photos are here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do put comments and suggestions for the next topic. For the next month's yarn, August yarn, is going to be really, really pretty. I have got, I've got a couple. I've still got 3 to get through. I'm going with, where is it? Come on out. Come on out of there. It's stuck. I'm going for a merino and silver stellina roving blend on the yarn. So I don't know if you'll be able to see. Oh, it's not silver. Is it silver or is it gold? It's gold. So I might go with an autumnal feel for that, because we are coming up for August, and we're coming up for August, and my cherry tree leaves are starting to go orange and red. So yeah, I think I might go with an autumnal theme for this, because it has got the gold stellina in it. So if you want to order some in yourself in the yarn, or order in the merino and stellina, go with soft Angelina. Go with a non-bondable, I'll show you, non-heat bondable silver stellina or gold stellina. Well, if you want to go silver, go silver. It's the same difference. So you want the Angelina that's a lot softer. This one is the non-heat bondable, so it won't go crunchy when you're working with it. It's really, really soft when you're blending with it. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing. So get yourself one of these if you haven't already got some at home. If you've got a different colour, go with a different colour, but make sure it's non-heat bondable, not the heat bondable. And if you're using World of Wool, or if you're going to Adelaide Walcott or any other supplier, make sure that it's a non-heat bondable Angelina. Okay, it's always in 10 grams. I've never bought it anywhere more than that, and to be fair, a little bit goes a long way. So I'll be using 23 micron count merino, and I'll be blending in the Angelina. So I'll walk you through that next month, probably around about the middle of August, before I get my stuff sorted out for the Christmas Advents. So please do pop over to the website as well. Christmas Advents are up on the website at the moment. If you're in America, please do reach out to me if you're wanting to place an order, because I'm waiting to find out what's happening with the tariffs, because I've been seeing other UK businesses saying that they need to put their tariffs up, but when I go over to Royal Mail to put a postage order in for over America, it's not charging me any more than the 10%. So please just double check with me first of all before you place the order. Now on the website it says that the orders will end for pre-orders for the Christmas Advents end on the 20th of August. That's really just in case anybody wants to pay in installments, which I do a non-refundable deposit and then 2 further payments, and that needs to all be cleared by October, because I post at the end of October and then into November for UK pre-orders. But if you want to pay in full, I'll be leaving that open, I think, till the 1st or 2nd of September, but I will let you know. And if you've received my newsletter, or just go onto the website and there's always a little pop-up with information of what's going on, then go and help yourself. I upload new stock every other weekend, which this weekend is Saturday, the first weekend in August. I'll be uploading new stock onto the website, new bats. So please do go over and have a look at those. And obviously the yarns that I've hand dyed, hand spun, and these ones and other examples are on the website. There's some more up there as well in that corner. I've got a small collection. I'm not known for my yarn dyeing, but I do dabble. So yeah, please go and pop over at the website. And if you use Woolly Deal, if you look in the descriptions, I'll write it in there. Use Woolly Deal, and any bats that you buy at the moment, you get 10% off, and that is code valid until the 20th of August. Okay, so you take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you soon. And I'll try and throw it over to YouTube, a blending video in the next week or two. Life's really hectic at the moment, so bear with me. So you take care, and I'll catch up with you in a week or two. Bye for now.